You. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So just want to start, as always, by saying that I just feel really grateful to be here and to be sharing this time with everyone. And there's something powerful that happens, isn't there, when we all get together, and something that is possible that perhaps might not be so possible when we're sitting in our separate places around the world. When we come together online like this or in person, there's something really possible that isn't available any other time. And I just wanted to acknowledge that the one being, as Sana was saying, appearing as all these infinite faces, the one being, the Supreme Self, by whatever name you want to call it, God or awareness or consciousness, presence, appearing as all of these forms. And it's when it appears as a human form, it is learning about itself, it's learning. And in a gathering like this, we have this unique opportunity to learn much faster, to see, to open, to let go, to release, surrender, whatever you want to call that process. Because none of us are here by chance in this gathering here tonight or any time we meet. So what does that mean? It means that whatever question or challenge or whatever words are coming out right now, it must be something to do with each one of us. It can't be that there's one person asks a question and I'll give an answer and it only applies to that one person, because there is no separate being. And we might kind of know this intellectually, but if we actually practice this and listen to every question, every answer, and every word as if it was just for us, and then there's this kind of acceleration of the process that goes on, this opening, because you already are that one being, that Supreme Self. And all that's really happening is in any awakening journey is that our mind and body is coming to reflect that truth. We're seeing it clearer. And then it's allowed to flow through the mind and body as our life, as our human existence. So if we can recognize that we can use everyone else's experience to speed our own journey, then suddenly life becomes very, very different. So the very next person you meet, whether it's on this session or when we've finished, when we go to back to whatever we're doing today, the very next person's issue or challenge must have something in there for us. There must be something there in that process that they're going through that is really something inside our own hearts that needs to be seen. So looking at that, can we attend this session in a different way? Can we come to a different understanding of what's going on here? Are we all gathered together in this one place? Are we all meeting so that there's all these beings here on this session? Or is there something else really going on right now? And what happens when we switch over to what's actually happening? Could it be that we're really just meeting with ourselves in all the ways that we're appearing to be? And when we really get that whoever we encounter is our own self, then our awakening progresses much faster. Why? If you look at how your mind works, if you look at the basic thing it does, And when I'm using the word mind, you could substitute separate self or ego or whatever you want to call that, false self. Is someone will ask a question here, and then I'll give an answer. And the first thing that we usually do when we're listening, and I was no different at all, is I listen to that answer that's being given in that question. And immediately something inside goes into comparison mode. Well, the person asking the question is obviously much further ahead than I am, or I'm much further ahead than that person. And even when the answer comes from whichever body is playing teacher currently, then the egoic mechanism inside is going to go into comparison with that. Do I understand what's being said? Do I understand it more than last time I heard it? Less than last time I heard it? Am I further ahead than I was last time we all got together like this? Or do I feel like I'm slipping behind? So this comparison and evaluating mechanism is always going on in most people's mind. Even right now, probably it's trying to assess how much further I am ahead than you are, or how much further ahead you are than I am. There's always going to be some kind of, it's got to divide reality into two, a me and a you usually, and then compare that. And the challenge with that is, if we believe that there's all these beings gathered here on this session, then there's a lot of comparison going on, isn't there? And in the comparison mechanism, we're missing out on what's actually going on. The fact that every answer and every word and every question is ours. So even if you're asking me a question here on this session or any time, or any teacher or any teaching, I'm listening as if this is my question too. And I'm listening also to the words that come out as an answer, as if I need to hear this too. And because of that, because I'm not kind of evaluating anymore, or that mechanism has been seen to not really be able to take me into truth, because if there's only one of us here and I'm constantly comparing with me and another being, that's not really going to allow me to rest as the one being. Nothing wrong with that mechanism. If you ask me, do I like tea or coffee, that mechanism is quite valuable. Or should we turn left or right here? Left, I know where that goes. It goes vaguely where we want to be. Right, not so much. Let's turn left. You know, that's a useful thing, isn't it? Or I don't really like coffee that much. I'd prefer tea. But the only place where we really hold on to this comparison mechanism is in our satsang, in our awakening journey like this. And that's the place where it really begins to become not only not useful, but actually an impediment to real seeing. What does it mean if you take this right now and just drop the comparison mechanism? What does it mean? Then there's only one of us here. There's nobody to compare yourself to. That means that these words, this wisdom, wherever it's coming from, is coming from you, inside you. These words are happening inside you. This here must also be you. And you must be everything and everywhere. Even if that's only an intellectual understanding that's coming, it's already opened a space that less of this comparing and judging and evaluating is going on. And we actually begin to really have access to real wisdom then. What does this mean for me inside when I actually hear someone else's question and someone else's answer? What's that going on in there? What's that process? Is there something inside me that I haven't been willing to see? When you really start to kind of perceive your experience this way, you can learn from everything in the universe. If you're watching a bird try to pull a worm out of the grass and it will not give up, no matter what happens, it just won't give up until it gets what it wants. There's this inevitability about that situation, this determination of that bird. That is you. It's showing you a part of yourself. And we kind of lose access to that level of wisdom if we are still believing in, buying into this comparison, judging between me and you. And we even do it with teachers. You know, I remember doing, I like this one better, this one's better at this one's better at that, and I'll shop around and, you know, I'll take a bit out of this teaching and a bit out of that teaching. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But let's recognize it's all the same. There's only one teacher, and it's everywhere. There's only one student, and it's everywhere. Teacher and student, same, not so different. So if you just get this one thing and notice this comparison, then a lot of the energy that's invested into our mind, into sustaining our sense of being a separate being, falls away. And therefore truth can, it's always here, the truth, it can reveal itself the moment we stop really keeping it away with this. Even if you watch your mind, your ego, you'll see it's constantly doing this. It'll be comparing where you are today with where you were yesterday. Or if some fear comes up, it'll be comparing how you handle it this time compared to last time. If you make a mistake and say the wrong thing to someone, it'll be comparing how much you beat yourself up to the previous time you did that. On and on and on it goes, right? Comparing a future moment to a past moment, comparing the present moment to, you know, comparing someone else in the future to how they are now. It's just constantly dividing the one into two and going, look at these two here, these two different things. So if you can see the futility of trying to live as the one being through a mechanism that divides everything into two, if you can see that, can you sort of step away from it? Not hating it or making it wrong, just leaving it be, recognizing, whether you call that surrender or releasing or transcending, it doesn't matter. Recognizing that it's just not going to get us where we want to be, feeling peace and security and love and all of those things. So there's nothing wrong with that egoic mechanism. And it's perfectly fine for the world of duality, but it's not going to help you recognize yourself. Even if you had a big seeing right now, oh my God, I'm everywhere. It would immediately, this mechanism, have to take that and divide it into two. How would it do that? It would say, I need to remember this. I need to see this. I need to keep this. And it would project onto some future moment. It would take this moment now and some future imagined moment to see if you're going to remember it. Or it would judge how clear that seeing was compared to last time you saw it in a previous moment. It's just unable to stop and rest. Because it's very momentum is carried by this idea that there really are two things, two beings, 2, 10, 1,000, a billion, infinite number of forms. So if there's really only one of us here, how useful is that mechanism? Can you just drop it for a while then? And recognize that everything that's going on right now must be inside you, even if that's just an intellectual, mental understanding. You're still going to feel more peace than if you're trying to get something, if you're dividing me and you into two and trying to get something out of what I'm saying, trying to desperately get something that you can use for yourself and apply and remember. Like maybe anything that any teacher's ever said is really just to bore the mind into submission or something, or frustrate the seeking mechanism, the egoic sense of self, when it's trying to constantly get somewhere and never actually arrives. If you've had that experience, seeking stops either from a clear seeing that happens again and again and again, or from absolute exhaustion, from trying and trying and trying and trying to find permanent, stable peace, and failing and failing and failing and failing. Here's a way to a clearer seeing, much more palatable for most of us. So if there's only one of us, where is there to get to? Surely then it becomes more about honoring and respecting the way that you're, that the one being is showing up as you. Honoring where you are now rather than trying to compare with other beings who aren't really other, or with other moments, past, present, and future, your progress. Now, mind says, when I see the oneness of all things, then I'll stop thinking about everything and everyone. And that seems to make sense. But what if it's the other way around? What if when we stop thinking so much, or when we stop agreeing with that thought process, finding it valuable and useful, then we'll recognize the oneness. It makes sense, really, if you think about it, that if you just stop dividing things into two, the one will become much more clear, the one being. I'm saying this because for me, it took me a long time to understand that it was actually my separating, trying to get somewhere that was clouding, separating into two and this comparison that was clouding my perception of reality, of my real self. Mind says, I'm obviously not seeing clearly yet, so I must try harder to get somewhere. I must do more with the aim of arriving at some future moment, whether that's 30 seconds from now, 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 years, where I finally see clearly. Or is it really only ever going to be about seeing clearer right now? And to do that, we just step away from comparing. What does that mean? It means that everything that's going on in your experience, everything, is for you to learn to see clearer. If I'm talking about something that's going on in my life, it's relevant to you. It must be. If you're talking about something going on in your life, there must be something for me to see about what you're saying. So it's a faster way, and it's also the only effective way to really see the truth. And just to watch the mind gently, not judging it, because again, then you're separating yourself from it. There's a me and it. Just watching it going, wow, as soon as it gets any new information or any new experience, it's immediately trying to do something to split that into two. Where I am now compared to where I think I should be in my journey. Where I am now compared to where I was yesterday. How much resistance I'm feeling today compared with what I hope it will be tomorrow, or what it was actually yesterday. On and on it goes. How clear my seeing is today compared to yesterday. And it's endless, isn't it? Endless. And really, if it could have got us there, it would have already. So just allowing experience to come in and just stepping back a little bit, or as much as you can, or completely, from trying to do something with it. The moment you engage with your experience, you're making yourself back into a someone that's trying to get somewhere. Can you just let your experience happen? Can you just allow these words to come in through your ears and then go wherever they go? as if you just literally had no capacity to hold on to anything that's happening, even an insight, an epiphany, or a nice state, some peace. What if you just could not or did not want to do anything with it? And that is freedom right there. That is awakening. In perhaps its most simple form, I'm just experiencing. I'm just watching. I'm just here. And even if the comparison mechanism's still going on, you can just watch that as part of your experience. Don't have to fuel it and engage with it. How do we fuel it and engage with it? Usually by trying to get rid of it. So just coming back to your experience right now. What are you experiencing? Are you really here? Are you present? Or are you trying to get somewhere with what you're hearing? Some insight flashes through your mind, some understanding. Can you just let that happen? Come and go. It sounds really dull to the mind, doesn't it? Just kind of, I'm just sitting here, right? I'm not doing anything. There's nothing going on. I'm just experiencing. I haven't got anywhere to get to. I'm never going to achieve anything. I'm never going to get anywhere. Never going to fail at anything either. The mind says, well, I don't know if I like the sound of that. But hopefully you're feeling it, you're experiencing it right now, just to kind of just hanging out together. Different appearances of the one being. Because if you're hearing these words, this wisdom, there must be the same wisdom inside you. It must be. Anything you see or experience must be a part of your very own self. So I didn't really mean to talk for that long, but apparently it was supposed to be. So I will invite any questions or things that you'd like to share. And as we're listening, let's listen as if the voice talking was our very own voice, because it is. So if anyone would like to just raise their hand or just unmute yourself and share anything you'd like to share or ask a question, we have some time.
Helen, when you say comparison, is that the same as when you say conceptualizing?
Yeah. There's got to be a concept there's got to be at least two concepts of me and you, or me and something other, to be able to compare. So you have to move into concepts before you can start comparing. And usually that's happening so quickly we don't realize we've done that. We have to use labels like past and present or now and later to compare.
And so when when you speak about being with people in a new way, without any sort of old associations and memories, and that is effectively what you're doing. You're coming there, you're being there without concepts, without comparison, concepts, memories, associations. You're just in the moment.
Yeah, at first there'll be both going on. As we practice this, there'll be some kind of conceptualizing going on in the background, and we're just not clinging to that. We're not pushing it away. We're not diving into it either. We can just be here, recognizing that this must all be me, and whatever's going on, I can just experience, because there isn't anywhere for me to get to. So at first it'll be both. There'll be this old way going on in the background, spinning its wheels for a while. But as you don't identify with that, and you don't push it away either, It's just another object inside you, isn't it? This kind of egoic thing. This comparison mechanism is just another subtle phenomenon arising inside you. No different than a table or a body or a plant.
So you're noticing your concepts, but without conceptualizing about them.
Yeah, that's it. Perfect.
Okay. Now, you said something earlier today, and I just wanted some clarification. You were talking about at first seeing the world, then we see the self, and then we see that both are the same thing. So what you added, though, was in the end, you know that what you are seeing through the senses is exactly the same as what you experience in your self-inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks different. So when you said what you see in your self-inquiry, that when you're looking through the senses in that way as what you see in self-inquiry, that's like you're zoomed out in whatever situation you're in, and you're seeing through the senses, but you've stopped attaching yourself to concepts about whatever you're seeing. You're just perhaps dealing with what needs to be done.
Yeah, there's just awareness, or there's just experiencing, and the senses are feeding back to the awareness. But there's nothing in between or less and less in between the senses and the awareness. It's trying to do something with what's coming in.
Okay, so it's getting the window clearer and clearer.
Yeah.
This really ties in with some of what I've been looking at in Patanjali Book 4, mm-hmm. which seems like the best book of the lot, the last book, where you drop all the powers and you go for that Kaivalya, the peace that you won. Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's just been on my mind so much, and you just responded just like your talk said. It's like the universe is giving me just what I'm, been open for.
Fantastic, wonderful.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you. Thank you. Lisa?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Interesting, because after you just spoke, and there's a part of me that says, well, is there a need to say anything? But anyway, the hand went up. Because I'd just like to share something that happened just today. And so I met with someone who I finished a relationship. It's like 8 weeks ago, and we were meeting for the first time after the ending of the relationship. And I kind of went with what I hoped was an open heart and mind, in the sense of trying to, this meeting this person in this moment without all the old stories.
Yeah.
And also with that, this is me, right? Anyway, there was a reflection. The words were that he said to me, I can't trust you. And I'll bore you with the details as to why, but and so, and it was a very kind of fairly short interaction, because this person was quite angry, disappointed, but anger, so it was quite a brief interaction, and I went off walking afterwards, and so I was like, I reflected on this word trust, because I was like, okay, so you can't trust me, that means there's lack of trust here somewhere. And it's like, what can't I trust in myself? Okay, so he's not trusting me. And also I think likewise, being the same person, there's something he can't trust in.
It must be also he can't trust himself.
Yeah. But I were considered, well, first of all, from what you've said, I could have just kind of taken it all in and just left it. But then there's something in me said, well, just reflect. What is it that I'm not trusting? Where is the lack of trust here? And it kind of came quite quickly and obvious that through a lack of authenticity in the relationship, through me not being honest with myself, so not trusting effectively my own feelings about the relationship. And actually, I spoke to you about this relationship, at least 6 months ago, if not longer. So it took me a little while to kind of go, right, hang on a minute, this really is not the right relationship for both of us.
That's okay though, right? You have to be really sure. It's good to be really sure. I'm really sure this is the right decision, rather than rushing it and and giving it. But then I kind of was really sure, and I overrode that. I didn't. Oh, there it is. You see the trust. Yeah, I don't trust my own. Yeah. So that's been a really, and it ties in with just this general wanting to be the authentic self as the divine, the essence of the divine, being that channel to be authentic, to be honest. And so for me, it was a clear example where the ego and the form is still very much at large. But I'm it's just a very old habit, though, isn't it? I think probably everyone could say, "Oh yeah, I regularly override my guidance in many areas at first, and then." It's just the integration process, isn't it? Like, why didn't I actually listen to that? Like, why did I override that? Without judging it, just kind of, what's going on there? Is it just kind of an old habit? Kind of ingrained way of looking at it.
And it definitely is an old habit, because that happened in a previous relationship, and that went on for years. I mean, literally years, 15, 20 years, and here I am in it was a relatively new relationship. And still happening, but I saw it more quickly. It only took me like maybe 18 months instead of 15 years. So
just looking at that, and I have just noticing I have a tendency to override what I know is right for me based on what my mind is saying or what other people's minds are saying, which are really my own mind. So there's this lack of trust of me and a reference to something else. I can't trust myself, so I've got to reference something else, whether that's my mind's advice or someone else saying something. And then it's got to always just come back to some kind of, I could see clearer who I really am. Even though I feel like a human being, I could see clearer. I'm not really that at all. I'm something much more, that not just the human being, at least.
Yeah.
We really are divine. Like if the Buddha showed up and said, I think you should do this, you'd be like, yeah. But when the Buddha's appearing here as this, we go, oh no, I can't do that. It's just, we just like automatically negate that somewhere inside.
And it is always coming back to that, isn't it? When we feel there's maybe some confusion in the mind at that level of mind ego, okay, let's come back to
and just the body is beautiful for that, isn't it? It will tell you immediately. You're really it'll be shouting at us most times, you're really overriding this wisdom right now, right here, right now, this feeling.
Sometimes
just not judging that. It's just got some momentum, hasn't it? A real momentum of and places where we tend to do it a lot. So in our financial decisions, or in our relationships, or in our awakening, or sometimes all of the above, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's a sense for me personally, of whoever that is, but of sometimes not knowing how to express it. So you might notice feelings, but then an old habit of not being able to express it. And I kind of see that again, if you can rest as just be more self-aware and rest as awareness, consciousness, that inner knowing, the wisdom, the skillful wisdom and compassion will shine through.
For me, it came down to forgiving myself. Like all the times I've overridden that guidance were really clear and getting clearer. And I watched myself doing it again in that moment and again. And okay, what am I going to do about that? Am I going to get angry again that I've done it again? Or am I just going to say, at some point, I'll draw a line under that and say, the moment I can allow that, I will. And if I can't right now, I can't. I'd like to, but there was some kind of softening in that. I don't really want to override this wisdom anymore, but not from a judgmental place of our mind, which insists you should be able to do it right now. You know, while you're watching your mouth say something and your heart saying something completely different, right?
Yeah.
Your heart's going, nope, and your mouth's going, yeah. You know?
Yeah. And then, I think for me, there's just this curiosity. Well, when is this form going to behave more authentically in line and listen? You know, as opposed to I don't think I judge. I've done a lot of judgment in the past, I think, but I kind of see it's more like this.
Little shift. You can really speed it along by where am I already living authentically? Where am I already trusting? Like we did this event together in Ilkley. You inherently knew this was the right place that we were supposed to do it. And that was so clear. That guidance was just, there wasn't a gap between the seeing of it and the applying, you know, running with it, so to speak.
Yeah.
So there's already areas, and it'll be in anyone's life, where we're already authentically, there's no gap between the seeing and the being. We're just really hung up on those places where there's a gap.
That's what the mind does, right? That's what the mind does. But that's really helpful, Helen. Thank you.
You start to notice where you're already honoring that, and then your focus shifts quite powerfully. Yeah,
and getting a sense of how that feels in the body when that's, you know, I could feel as you said it, you know, because I just knew when we were organising it, you know, just done something similar this week for tomorrow, and it's just,
even this comparison mechanism. I'll go back and think about the 25 million times I overrode my guidance in this relationship with this person and not put any attention at all upon the one time I did say, you know, I think we've come as far as we can go together. I'll keep rehashing all these times and forget this one where I actually did. We're strange creatures, aren't we, human beings, really?
Totally bonkers. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.
You too.
Lynn?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
So I have a question about how to be more grounded now. Because, well, for instance, I took my grandkids to the neighborhood swimming pool this morning, and I was so blissed out watching them play. And I was reading Yogananda, that chapter 43 about the astral world and the causal world, and it just made me blissful even more. And then on the way home, I took the wrong turn, and this is the neighborhood pool, and it's just like I just kind of go off into the, you know, the astral world. and so I really need something to help me, you know, during practical times when I have to function, to be more grounded. I'm really feeling that. And I don't know if there's a mantra you could help me with, or I'm wearing my amethyst mala. I thought that might help. Any ideas?
If you look at right now, you, the astral form, are using the physical body to communicate with me perfectly. You're functioning on both realms simultaneously. Right?
Yeah.
You're not floating out your body while we're talking.
Right. There's this
idea
that
it's one or the other. Physical or physical or, and here's the comparison again, that it divides the one into two. Where am I going to hang? And I've totally been here. Yeah, I totally understand. It seems like a real challenge. But you're just watching the body, the physical body, and what's going on in it, even the bliss. You're not blissed out. And I have to really say that, because I got very attached to bliss, and I was very spiritual for a while. You know, I'm so blissed out, I can't function. And eventually I had to let go of that. That's not happening to me either. It's this state that's going on in the body. It feels extraordinarily nice, but if I'm a someone, then I can get overwhelmed by even that, like I used to do with fear and shame, and lose my capacity to function because I was so terrified or ashamed or whatever. No different in this, right? We tend to identify here with even the positive or very high states of joy, and we're not rejecting anything like that. It's fine to feel light and floaty, but that's not happening to you. That's happening in front of you. So the issue is not what's going on. It's how we're identifying with it very subtly. And of course, we want to identify being blissed out after we've been terrified and angry and all that stuff, right? As a separate being. But still here, we're still being a separate being, just ever so slightly. And it's this old tendency to still believe we're making progress. I'm feeling more bliss now than I was last week, and it's just building. And what am I going to do when it gets to this point? And totally been there. Totally, I did that for quite some time. Eventually, I had to disidentify with it and just say, well, it's just another phenomenon arising inside me. It's a very pleasant one, really enjoyable. But still, I am not affected by it. Can the awareness be affected by bliss? Can it be overwhelmed by bliss?
I see. Right.
Is it in or out of a body, even the awareness? It's just these subtle places now where our egoic sense of self is going to try to reform itself by latching onto anything it can identify with. Because that's what it does. It's not being malicious or anything. It's just trying to hold itself in some kind of structure. It's not different really than I'm overtired, I can't sleep, I need to lose weight, or whatever we're identifying with the body in other ways. It's just much more subtle, harder to see at first.
It's very beautiful too.
Yeah, of course, and when it starts to turn into deep joy and ecstasy, there'll be another identification happen, but you'll see it quicker. You'll go, that's really nice, but that's not me either. And it'll just, because it stops surging then to this intense bliss that you can't function, and it's just more and more in the background, just building like the pieces, just building gradually more day by day, rather than it being this big experience that comes that just kind of knocks you out for a while.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely gradual, but building. Yeah.
So just not identifying with that. It's happening inside you and not to you. Even this. It doesn't mean it's going to go away. You're not going to lose out. But you won't be overwhelmed by it or anything. You can just enjoy it then.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Would anyone else like to share anything or ask anything? Shall we finish them with a little quick meditation? Dive into some stillness. I think that would be nice. So we have 15 minutes. Let's start with taking some deep breaths, some nice deep breaths. We're not forcing our breath in any way. We're just consciously breathing, making sure that we're inhaling and exhaling. Just noticing how your body feels when you take a nice deep breath. Does it feel better? Does it feel just a little calmer? Feel a little more at home in it? As if taking a refreshing breath was like giving your body a hug somehow, giving it something really nice. Just taking your time, inhale, exhale whenever you're ready. And then just noticing that you're aware of the breath. You're just aware of the breath, letting it move, your lungs inhaling, exhaling as they do by themselves. Just watching. You're also aware of your heart beating. Checking out the body. Are you aware of any pleasant or unpleasant sensations, tension or peace? Any emotions? What's going on in your body right now? Not trying to change anything, we're just being aware. Just really noticing that you're watching also what your senses are perceiving. So you're aware of these words. You're aware of what else is going on around you. What can you hear? What can you feel? You feel the contact that your body's making with wherever you're sitting. Can you feel the air softly touching your face? Can you feel your feet on the floor? You're just aware of all of this. Just watching. Just hanging out here in this place where we're just watching, just aware. Just aware if mind is thinking, it's okay. Just watching it. Awareness may listen to some sounds or watch some thoughts. It may watch a sensation in the body, an ache or an itch. Letting awareness go wherever it wants to go. Inside, outside, doesn't matter. Just aware. And if it wanders to the mind, listening to mind, it's okay. You might wander back to these words. To a feeling in your body. But it's always the same. It's just aware, just watching. It's always on. Aware of silence or sound equally. Thoughts or no thoughts. Awareness is present, whether there's anything to be aware of or not. Aware of something or aware of nothing. It's letting awareness watch whatever it's watching. Sometimes it will watch itself. It will notice itself. Even when awareness is watching thoughts, it's still completely free, just aware. So as we bring this to a close, and we move through the rest of our day, see if we can just notice awareness still present, still here, sometimes watching itself, aware of awareness, sometimes aware of something else, but always the same, always free. Thank you. We'll hand the mic back to you, Saina. Thank you, thank you.